peace. The only man in antiquity, no philosopher in Greece, no philosopher anywhere in the world, in India or in China, was capable of dreaming even that there will be a time when war will abolish and there will be peace. This is the message of the prophets.
The Interfaith Broadcasting Commission, in cooperation with the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, presents Abraham Joshua Heschel Remembered, a tribute to the distinguished philosopher, theologian, and social activist on the 20th anniversary of his death. In life, Dr. Heschel was Ralph Simon Professor of Jewish Ethics and Mysticism at Jewish Theological Seminary. Opening today's program is Seminary Chancellor Ismar Schorsch in conversation with Cornell West, Professor of Religion and Head of African American Studies at Princeton University. He is also the author of the newly published volume, Race Matters. They will introduce NBC newsman Carl Stern's 1972 interview with Dr. Heschel. Dr. Schorsch.
Cornell, it is wonderful to be with you again. When you were a member of Union's faculty, we were neighbors. Our faculties met together. We exchanged thoughts many times.
Indeed. It's good to see you as well, though, Ismar. Well, those are some wonderful years at Union Theological Seminary and Jewish Theological Seminary.
Our assignment is to bring an interview of Dr. Heschel that was shown 20 years ago, up to date. When it was shown, Dr. Heschel had died. It was filmed but a few weeks before his death, and when it was shown, we heard a voice from the grave. Many things have changed since 1973. Maybe you would reflect with me on some of the changes in Jewish-Christian relations since '73.
Yes, I think the major feature of the last 20 years has been the degree to which it's very difficult to hear the kind of prophetic voices that's represented in the late Abraham Joshua Heschel. And what I mean by that is that we've come out of a conservative period. And it's a period in which the kind of compassion and mercy and this stress on justice that we see in both the work as well as the life of Dr. Heschel has been pushed more and more to the margins. And therefore, the voices that one often hears, or at least takes notice of, fail to be as prophetic as what we hear in a Dr. Heschel.
We've become more strident, more militant. We've given up the moral high ground. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I think that when we talk about a moral language, a language of empathy and a language of sympathy, genuine attempts to stay in contact with the humanity of other people and to identify with their frustrations and anxieties, I think those kinds of efforts are not being made in the way in which Dr. Heschel would have liked us to do.
You write in your book, Race Matters, a lot about the nihilism of young blacks in the inner city. The struggle is to imbue their lives with love, with meaning, with hope. I think Heschel spoke that language. His conception of God was one of a God who cared, who was filled with sympathy, who needed the assistance of humanity.
Yes, I mean, there's a wonderful phrase that Dr. Heschel wrote where he says that our eyes have been poisoned to see only the generalities of race rather than the uniqueness of the human face.
That's a wonderful quote. It's an eye disease.
Exactly, and it resonates with Ralph Ellison's powerful novel of 1952, Invisible Man, the difficulty of actually keeping track with not just the humanity but the individuality of black people, and therefore being able to tolerate such levels of social misery among poor black people, not just black people, I should say, but brown as well and white poor as well. But the black poor in many ways symbolize this sense of being invisible and their pain and their hurt being invisible. And I think if Dr. Heschel was still alive, he would be targeting that social misery in the same way that he struggled with Martin Luther King Jr. in the civil rights movement, the same way he brought a moral critique to bear on U.S. foreign policy without demonizing the country, without demonizing elites, but just trying to speak candidly, citizen to citizen, about a moral failing that he felt deeply about.
I think one of the things that's changed in the last 20 years is the proliferation of departments of African studies, African-American studies on the campus. I see this as a positive development. I believe that a society accords ultimate respect to the culture of a minority by including that culture in its curriculum.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think one of the consequences of white supremacy and all of its manifestations has in fact been the degradation of things African. And therefore there's a need, in the name of the pursuit of truth and the disclosing of facts, to simply get at the record regarding black human products, black creativity, and black originality. But it needs to be done, I think, in a very serious, rigorous, and convincing way. And what I mean by that is not simply in the form of celebration, not in the form of romanticizing and idealizing, but simply being true to the record. And there's no doubt that there's been white supremacist biases in Western scholarship that hide and conceal black achievement and black accomplishment. And I think we have to always hold to the highest standards of scholarly excellence when we take seriously black doings and black sufferings like any other human doings and human sufferings.
Cornell, you speak like professors of Jewish studies when they first gained entree into the university. The fight of the Jewish minority was the same one. You have written with deep understanding of Jewish history. I think you personify the kind of excellence that you demand. I would like to throw out the thought that one of the ways to repair some of the erosion in black Jewish ties might be to offer more team-taught courses on university campuses, bringing together professors of African American studies and Jewish studies.
I think that's a very good idea. One of the things that my good friend Rabbi Feld, when he was at Princeton, one of the things that he and I attempted to do was to initiate and inaugurate a series of lectures about Jewish history and Jewish culture at our Third World Center at Princeton. And I would lecture on African American history and African American culture at the Hillel Society. It facilitates the kind of critical exchange, dialogue that helps not only minimize tension and friction, but also misunderstandings and misrepresentations, because I think not enough people of African descent recognize the degree to which Jews, going all the way back to the Byzantines, going all the way back to medieval period, have been degraded, have been denigrated. The history of the pogroms, the assaults, the attacks, not just Judaicide, not just the Holocaust, but the larger backdrop of the various ways in which Jews have been dehumanized. And similarly so, American Jews must, like all Americans, face the very tragic and ugly facts of the American past and present regarding the 244 years of chattel slavery, the 75 years of institutional terrorism, including the lynching, the Jim and Jane Crowism, and still presently the various struggles to gain first-class citizenship. We need to know these histories, not that in knowing these histories our differences are automatically overcome, but at least we can bring to the dialogue a knowledge and an empathy. And I think that's the best that we fallen finite human beings can do. We need to be compassionate in our disagreements and acknowledge where we do, in fact, agree.
I